right, everyone. It is July 9th. I always say that after the 4th of July, it's almost football season. Like, you kind of creep into June and you're like, it's still kind of far away. But once we clear and the dust settles from the 4th of July, it's like, all right, I think that's football season knocking on the door. So we're almost at August, July 9th. We got to welcome on a special guest here to the podcast. An Italian. I know Rich is fired up about that. A Jersey boy as well. And we got offensive tackle from Virginia Tech and a Bloomfield, New Jersey legend, Anthony Lambo. Anthony played on the Virginia Tech offensive line. Was at Tech from 96 to 2000, including that special season in 1999. So welcome to the Sons of Saturday, Anthony. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you all today. Excited to talk some Tech football, both of you.
Love it. And back to the show, Rich Luttenberger. So Rich did such a good job. I think a little over a month ago with Coach Billy Height, we said, hey, call to the bullpen. Rich, your interviewing skills and podcast prowess is not going unnoticed. So good to see you this morning.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Such a nice welcome. Thank you. An introduction. I appreciate it. And we got 3 Jersey guys here. So in honor of that, I'm going with my Stone Pony t-shirt.
Nice.
Those of us from Jersey know Bruce Springsteen's old stomping grounds. So we got a little shout out to the 3 Jersey guys.
Absolutely. Speaking of Jersey, so Anthony, you were born in Newark, moved just across the border to Bloomfield as a kid. And since most of our listeners probably have never heard of Bloomfield, can you tell us a little bit about your hometown?
Sure. Bloomfield's a blue-collar town surrounded by Newark, East Orange, Nutley, Belleville, Montclair, Glen Ridge. It's a pretty big town. Population's about 80,000. Like I said, it's blue collar. It's 2 parts of town. There's a north end part of town and the south end part of town. They border different areas. The south end where I grew up bordered more of the northeast orange side. The north end of town was more bordering the more affluent areas like Montclair, Glen Ridge, of that nature. Great people in the town, hardworking. A lot of people that work as teachers, firemen, policemen, all live in town. They all have relationships and know each other and support each other in all the different programs they run. So it's a great place to have had the opportunity to go to high school and play multiple sports there when I was a youth.
So, Anthony, you grew up in this blue-collar town with a father who was a police officer. And how did this prepare you for the success that you would have later in life, not just football, but in life in general?
My dad was a military guy. He was in the Army, and then as soon as he got in the Army, became a police officer, like you said, and he was a police officer in Irvington, New Jersey, which is a tough area to work at. Being a military guy, he had a lot of expectations for me as far as doing the right thing, being respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Making sure that my priorities are aligned, that I'm doing the right thing all the time. And when I was younger, he used to take me on car rides when he was at work, when I was probably 8 to 12 years old, and kind of show me around the way and the things that go on. And I was a quiet kid who observed a lot when I was younger. So I learned a lot of things at an age from my dad, not only by what he told me, by the things that he also showed me.
Now, I know that football was not your first love. What sport was it that you loved most as a kid, and how did your time in that game help you as a football player?
My first love was basketball. I actually started dribbling my first basketball when I was 4 years old. My neighbor was an older gentleman named Hank, and I had gotten a basketball for Christmas, and he saw me outside playing and actually taught me how to dribble properly. And seeing the success and learning how to do something so quick and becoming successful at it kind of sparked something inside of me for a love of sports. So from then on, I just kind of fell in love with basketball, the game. When I moved from Newark to Bloomfield, there was a court about 3 blocks from my house that bordered East Orange, and there was always groups of guys there, 19 to 25 years old. And at the time I was 12, and I would walk up to the courts and play basketball with those guys. And I learned a lot there as far as growing up quickly as a young man. And it was a great experience.
Anthony, elaborate on that a little bit. Tell me, you and I have talked about this in the past. Tell me a little bit about that. When you show up on the court, you're this little kid with these older guys. How'd you get on the floor? How'd you get to play? And what happens if you don't get a call? To talk a little bit about playing street ball in Bloomfield?
Well, playing street ball in Jersey, New York, just in general, it's tough. Like, first of all, you got to wait to get on to play a game. There's usually 20, 25 guys playing. So if you're waiting, you got next, you could wait 2 games. And if you lose, you sit out, you're waiting another hour to play. So it's competitive. Guys want to win. And I know I was younger, and you said I was a little kid. When I was 12, I was 5'9", 185 pounds. So I looked like a grown man to these guys, even though I was only 12. So I was playing with, like I said, kids that are 19 to 25, which are grown men. And that's how I learned to pass the ball a lot and enjoyed passing the ball, because those guys wanted to shoot, and I just wanted to make them happy so I could play in the team. So I learned to dribble the ball very well, a guy my size, and learn how to pass. And a lot of that was from watching guys I grew up and loved watching, like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. All those guys had different aspects of the game that I really enjoyed watching. And, it just felt natural to me with a basketball in my hand.
All right, let's get back to the gridiron. So, you're a 2-sport athlete, but football was the one. So you're an all-state tight end, defensive lineman, and you had dozens of offers. Tell us about your recruitment, who's recruiting you, and, where you're really considering, and then why you, a Jersey guy from Essex County, chose Virginia Tech.
It's a great question. I was blessed my junior year to have over 30 Division I scholarships. I took 2 visits only, official visits, but I also went to camps my junior year. I went to Penn State's football camp. I went to Syracuse football camp. I went to go there to check out the campus and things before my junior year, before I took official visits. So I went to those places officially. I went to Kansas, went out there, had a great visit, great people. It was a little different for me being out that direction of the country. So I went there. I was supposed to go to Georgia Tech, but I went to Virginia Tech first. And when I went down there with my dad, it was everything from the minute I got in the van to drive to campus with Bruce Garnes, a conversation I had with him when I got to the hotel. I met a couple of guys that were being recruited and talking about the process they went through. And then, getting to meet Coach Beamer, Coach Cav, Coach Foster, going to see a live practice and the camaraderie between the guys. I mean, the list of guys I can go through that I was watching practice, it's insane. It was J.C. Price, Cornell Brown, Myron Newsome, Torian Gray, Antonio Banks, Todd Washington on the other side, T.J. Washington, Brad Baylor. I mean, the list goes on and on. Gennaro DiNapoli. I mean, these are all guys that played in the NFL, that played at Virginia Tech, that started this run of bowl games that we went on. So, like, getting all that came in within, 3 days of a visit. The feeling that you got when you were there, everybody took care of each other. It was a family atmosphere. And it wasn't recruiting back then wasn't like it is now, where you walk in and there's lights and cars and pictures being taken and posts being sent out. You were lucky to have your jersey hung up when you walked in the room, so it's a lot different. It was more selling the people part of it than it was the stadium and the weight room and that sort of stuff. So it was a different feel when I got there. It was very, like they say, this is home. That's what it felt like. And I think that's why a lot of kids going into what's going on now, and Coach Pry and JC and Prelo and Jones and Mines and all Foncell, all those guys are doing a great job getting the in-state guys back. And that's huge. And I think it's happening because they're visiting and they're getting that same feeling I had 25 years ago. They're bringing that back. Like, this is home. If you're in Virginia, you want to go to Virginia Tech. And that's the way it should be.
So let's talk about those playing days. Moving from D tackle to O-line, you were recruited to play defensive line and actually started on that side of the ball. What prompted the move to offensive line? What was that transition like?
So I was recruited to play D tackle. I wanted to play tight end coming out of high school. I was blessed with the opportunity to do that for 3 years in high school. I was an All-American tight end, USA Today. I was like, this is great. I'll go and play tight end in high school. I love the position. Mark Bavaro was one of my idols growing up. I love his temperament, the way he played. I wore his number in high school. I wanted to be him. Got recruited mostly to play offensive line, a couple of places to play D-line. Virginia Tech offered me to play D-line. And when you look into it, it's a no-brainer. The things that were going on with the lunch pail at the time, J.C. Price in that group, Hank Barron and all those guys leading the way and turning that Texas bowl game win, which turned, the page for Virginia Tech history in football that year. So it was huge. Getting back to the original question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to transition, my bad. The transition was tough. So my redshirt year, I played tight end. I was on a scout team tight end and worked with the D lineman. My redshirt freshman year, I got to play. I was a backup to Kerwin Harrison, who was a fifth-year redshirt senior, and that was my redshirt freshman year. I was averaging probably 15 to 20 snaps a game. I thought I was playing pretty well, developing. It was a different position to play D-line. I usually played DN in high school and tight end. I was playing D-tackle when I got moved over, which was great. I learned a lot from the guys in front of me. The transition became difficult because I wanted to play defensive line at Virginia Tech. I wanted to play defensive line for Coach Foster. I wanted to play at Virginia Tech because of Coach Beamer. It was a difficult transition because I was feeling a little bit of success. I had 3 sacks in my first 4 games. I thought I was improving, even though I was a long way away from where I needed to be. Coach Wiles was coming in. That was his first year as a D-line coach. He's a phenomenal guy. I still have a great relationship with Coach Wiles. He's doing an awesome job at NC State. So the transition, I got called into Coach Beamer's office after one of our football games against Rutgers, and he told me I did an awesome job. I think I graded out the most points of the D-line that game. He said, an awesome job. They watched the film, and he wanted me to consider moving over to offensive line, which kind of took me back a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I did really well. Had a sack, 6 tackles, 3 assists in the game, and then next day I'm being called in to be moved over to offensive line. As a 19-year-old kid, it was tough to handle. I was trying to earn a starting position. I was trying to find my way on the team and learn different schemes and defensive calls as a freshman. Now to have to switch positions, learn a new playbook, build camaraderie with a different group of guys. It was difficult. It was hard. Did I do the right things and say the right things all the time? No. I was a 19, 20-year-old kid trying to find his way, growing up as a young man. Had a lot of guys and coaches that mentored me through that time and still do to this day. Coach Gentry was a great help. Coach Steinspring was a huge help in the transition. Coach Pierman, who's been very successful at Clemson since he left, he was huge in making my transition from D-line to O-line. It was difficult because techniques. It was difficult because I was going against Corey Moore and John Engelberger every day, who were All-Americans and draft picks in the NFL. And for someone who switched and never played position to get there, it was difficult, not only physically, mentally. It was a challenge. It was a big challenge that, I took on because I knew it was better for the team. Coach Beamer explained to me that they needed guys there. They didn't have enough bodies in the position. And so I accepted the responsibility to do what was best for the team. And I think the rest was kind of history. I bounced around from guard to tackle. And we all ended up working out for everybody at the end.
No, it definitely worked out. And, it wasn't smooth sailing early, but it sure was later on. So let's talk about, you make the move. And as you said, it was a little difficult at first, right? You're going against guys who have played line all their life. So they know the footwork, they know the technique. You were a defensive tackle, you were playing a different kind of ball as a freshman. And in today's game, a guy like you could easily hit the portal and stay on defense and go to another school. But you chose to make the sacrifice, personal sacrifice and team sacrifice, and make the move. So this is a two-part question for you, Anthony. One, if the portal was open back when you were a freshman and you were asked to move, would you have entered so you could stay on defense? And then 2, what did you learn about yourself after making the move? And then how can that be a lesson for others? So let's go back to the first one. If the portal was open back when this happened, your position change happened, do you think you would have entered?
That's a great question. I'm going to say no, I would have not have entered. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. One, I made a commitment to Virginia Tech. And what I learned, like you said, back from my father, when you commit to something, you see it through to the end. It's hard to compare what's going on now to back then, but I will say this. I know in a person's career, they change jobs about 10 to 12 times. If you're bouncing around schools and you're going to 3 or 4 schools in a 5-year span, and then you go to apply for a job and they look at that, that could be a negative reflection. Are you committed to the team? Are you committed for what's best for the company? or are you a selfish person? So it works both ways. I know it's very open and easily for people coming in and out of the portal. But again, you have kids that are 19 to 24 trying to figure out their life. You go into the portal, there's thousands of kids in the portal. That's scary too. I mean, and that's also taking scholarships away from kids in high school. So to think about it back then, I wouldn't have entered the portal. I committed to Virginia Tech. I was there because I loved the people there, Coach Beamer, Coach Foster, Coach Steinsberg, all the players that we played with before and after I came. I committed to them, so there's no way I would have transferred. I would have, and I obviously didn't. If it was the case today, I wouldn't have transferred. I definitely would have called my dad, and he would have told me the same thing he usually does: you start something, finish it. And if that's what they need you to do, then do it to the best you can. And that's what I did. So I definitely would have not have entered the portal. That would have been more stressful probably than changing positions.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I think you answered number 2. So no, thank you. Pat, go ahead. I think you're up.
So those guys in the trenches, they take a beating. Talk to us about the life of a lineman. Bumps, bruises, aches, pains, eating a lot all the time, off-season surgeries, time in the training room. How bad is it really?
It's rough. It's rough. Being inside is rough. It's you see a lot of things. We've seen guys in practice, knees caps come out, ACLs torn, guys collapsing because they're hyperventilating. It's tough, but the other side of that is having great training staff. Mike Goforth was there. Eddie Farrell was there. We had guys that cared about us, so they took care of us. A lot of ice baths, a lot of saunas, a lot of guys taking care of each other after practice. Some guys can't pull their shoulder pads off because their shoulders are so messed up from practice. So you got to help each other. I'm still feeling it today. I had both shoulders done, rotator cuff surgery. My right knee was scoped. My left knee needs to get done. I have a torn quad that won't heal. So it's a tough balance, especially when you're playing. You're 300-pound lineman. You're working out 5 days a week. You're taking in 15,000 calories. Then all of a sudden, all that stops, and you're a regular citizen, and you're 300 pounds, and you're still eating 15,000 calories. It's not healthy. So a lot of guys, linemen, the smart ones, lose a lot of weight when they're done playing. I've lost probably about 40 pounds since I stopped playing. It's a process. It's a lifestyle change. But you need to, as you get older, your body changes, as I'm sure Rich can occur. So, things start to ache, and especially when you have surgeries, man, it changes everything to make up your body. So, exercise and working out, eating healthy as you get older is a huge, huge difference. Makes a big difference.
So you talked about some of those 1990s Virginia Tech coaches. You mentioned Foster, Wiles, Coach Beamer, obviously, and a lot of these guys spend years in Blacksburg developing talent into studs. Can you speak on some of the relationships that you had with members of that coaching staff?
Absolutely. Coach Beamer, like I said, when I switched to offensive defense, I was struggling picking up on the concepts of the playbook. It was a totally different playbook. I was 100% focused on D-line and the concepts and schemes and calls for that, and I would switch right over. It was a struggle at first. It took a few weeks for me to grasp onto the expectation and the play calls and the huddle setup. There's like so many little things that come into one play, and for me to have to relearn all that in one spring was difficult. So Coach Pearman sat down with me a bunch after practice and went through that stuff, chalk talk, video stuff. He was a great help. Coach Gentry was another one who was a great mentor while I was there. Always had my back. If something wasn't right or he felt like I wasn't pushing hard or practicing hard, he would come over and say something to me. Coach Steinsberg did a great job of balancing our offensive line room. We had a lot of personalities in there. Great guys, a lot of personalities. And we didn't make it easy on Coach Steinsberg. A lot of joking going on. We did a good job keeping it light, and he did a great job keeping us all balanced in there. Coach Height's another one, the running backs coach. We had a great relationship with him. Obviously loved the offensive line because what we put ourselves through for his running backs. But Coach Height's one of a kind. He's a Virginia Tech legend, another great dude. Still have a good relationship with him. Who else? Coach Steinsberg's we're at Roanoke College right now. I reached out to him. Hopefully get down there to visit him there. He's doing great. So still have relationships with a bunch of those guys. I saw Coach Foster at Corey Moore's induction into College Football Hall of Fame. I was luckily invited to sit at the table with those guys. It was a great experience. Myself, Chiron Stith, Larry Austin. It was great. Coach Wiles was there. It was awesome. So, building those relationships 25 years later, you run into these guys and get invited to College Football Hall of Fame. It's like we saw each other last week. And, and that was part of the reason why I stayed at Virginia Tech, getting back to your other question. It's the relationships that are built there. They last forever. I still talk to tens of guys that I played with, probably almost 100. And we're all in communication. We reach out, Doug Eastlick, other guys in New Jersey, you run into them, you say hello. It's like, it could be 20 years, but it's like we spoke yesterday. And that's the beautiful thing about Virginia Tech and it saying this is home, because at the end of the day, it is.
All right, let's talk about that 99 season. Playing with two of the greatest players in Tech history, Michael Vick and Corey Moore. Let's go to Morgantown. In that infamous game in 99, the drive. Tell us about the vibe in the huddle on that last series, on that game-winning drive.
Let's start when we pulled in on the bus and things were being thrown at the bus. That was the intro to getting there. Then we're warming up, and there was a lot of junk being talked. West Virginia was hyped about beating us. They felt very confident that game. I'm going to be honest with you. At that point in the season, when we would step on the field and we were ranked first, second, third in the country, we carried that responsibility. We felt like we were that team. We felt like we belonged in that ranking. So when we went against teams and they would come at us and talk, we would just kind of laugh and smile at each other and just do our thing. So I don't think anyone was intimidated. We were comfortable. I mean, everyone watching and the situation, the time that was left, where the ball was, and everything that happened seemed crazy while you were watching it. But when we were on the field, everybody in the huddle was cool, calm, and collected. It was stuff we were used to doing in practice. I mean, West Virginia didn't have Corey Moore on the other side of the ball. They didn't have Carl Bradley. They didn't have Chad Beasley. They didn't have John Engelberger. They didn't have Tony. They didn't have Tony, Mike Hawks. They didn't have those guys. We practiced those guys every day for months. So we were used to those situations. Offense was used to, physical battles every day in practice. So when you get to West Virginia and those guys, talk trash a lot and do dirty things, and, we just played Virginia Tech football. So we were confident going into that last drive. I mean, you watch the plays, no one jumped off sides. There's no penalties. There's no illegal motions. Everyone was focused. We were focused on getting the ball down the field. And we also had Mike, which made it a lot easier to not be worried.
And then a few months later, I guess, it's the turn of the millennium in New Orleans. I'm 5 years old, so, not much on the personal account here. But Coach Beamer has led you and your team to the top of the world. Anthony, describe the feeling to play in the national championship game in New Orleans on January 4th, 2000. Your birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday. It was pretty cool. We were down in New Orleans for 10 days. It was a great experience. It was intense down there between the fan base, which was awesome. The Virginia Tech support was like it's never been when we were down there that week. The atmosphere was amazing. The media was intense. The practices were the same. The great thing that Coach Beamer and his staff did is no matter where we were, no matter what bowl game we were in, it was business. It was the same schedule. It was the same expectation. The priorities were what they were. Even our families were there. We weren't there to hang out with our families. We were there for business. So even though we got to go to certain places as teams and do little events, it was still lifting 2-3 days during that week. It was practice, full pads 3 days that week. It was a lot of meetings, special team meetings, individual meetings. It was business. It was intense. It was a great week. It was a great opportunity to sit there and take in a lot of things. That experience not many people get to have. It was a great opportunity for our team as a whole. Our coaching staff earned it at that point. I mean, Virginia Tech developed itself and brought itself to the point where that stage is where we belonged.
Pat, I was at that game, so I can speak from a fan's perspective. For 3 full quarters, it was crazy. It was crazy. I was a young 29 back then. So that was 25 years ago. What are your plans, Anthony? How are you celebrating? Are you going back to campus? What are you doing to commemorate the 25th anniversary of that significant year?
Well, Virginia Tech has blessed us with the opportunity. They're having a reunion for the Marshall game, September 5th and 6th. They're having a 25th year reunion. They invited all the guys from the 99 team, offered us a nice little package to come out, get some tickets. opportunity to meet with each other at dinner, and then at halftime they're going to recognize the team. There's a list of guys going. I already spoke to a bunch of guys I played with. We're really excited about getting back on campus together and seeing how the program has expanded and the great job that Coach Pry has done since he's been there. Not only bringing guys back, but getting the campus back involved, the people in town back involved, which is great for Virginia Tech, and that's obviously why the recruiting has made a huge turn in the state. We're all excited to come back, not only to be recognized about our accomplishments, but to see each other more so than anything. We talk over the phone. You can FaceTime guys. Once every few years, you get opportunity to run into a guy or go visit them. But for everybody to come back under the same roof for the same purpose, to celebrate each other, it'd be a phenomenal experience. Not only for us, but to see the coaches again, everybody back. It'll be a great celebration. And I think this year is going to be very special for Virginia Tech. So have those guys come back and see guys that played before us that are coaching there now. Jared Ferguson's still there, J.C. Price, Pilo. I mean, the list goes on and on. DB, get everybody back and to be a family again and to be home with everybody. It's really exciting stuff. And I'm really looking forward to going down and visiting during that weekend with my wife.
That'll be a great weekend. You playing golf?
I have registered to golf. We'll see what happens.
Nice. Where are you playing?
River Course, I think Friday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. All right, let's talk school motto at Prosum. I had the good fortune a few weeks ago to attend your football camp. That was a good time. Tell us a little bit about the free camp that you run every year for the kids of Bloomfield. How did it start? Who works the camp? The support you get. Tell us a little bit about that nice little annual event you do.
Of course. Thanks for mentioning it. And I appreciate you coming out. It was fun having you there, Rich. Seeing your coach, linebackers and stuff. It's a great day.
That was fun.
It was. The camp I started camp in 2010. I had gotten laid off from teaching from state budget cuts. And I was home with my 3-year-old and my infant twins. My wife had went back to work, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't just sit here with 3 kids in the house. So, it's just getting a little stir crazy. So I reached out to a couple of guys I played with and just asked them about, the work they were doing. I spoke to Andre Kendrick briefly, and spoke to Keon Carpenter, who was, another guy who did a lot of mentoring for me while I was at Tech. Awesome person, rest in peace to Keon. And I got a lot of ideas and spoke to them about the way they do their nonprofit stuff and how they give back to their communities and why. And it kind of sparked a flame inside of me. I can't just sit in the house. I got to get up and do something. So I went around the local businesses who I knew the owners of and asked them for small donations to start a football camp in town. So a couple months later, I raised about $1,500 and started a free football camp, organizing it via social media. And in that camp, I had about 50 kids show up, and they got free wristbands, certificates, T-shirts. And over the past 13 years, it's grown to now we have about 55 kids this year, but in the previous years, we've had the high school team there, which is about 60 kids. So we average about 100 to 115 kids per year at the camp. It's from 9 to 12. They get intense instruction. It's not like, they're playing games for 3 hours. They do individual periods, agility periods, competition periods, and at the end of camp, they have a competitive game. It's opportunity for boys and girls to come out in town and have a day of camp for free. There's, like I said, they get a bunch of free stuff plus free breakfast and lunch is also included. It's donated by local vendors and companies in Bloomfield to take care of it. Also, the PBA is involved, the fire department's involved, a lot of local agencies that give back to the community help out. And it's great to have relationships with those guys growing up in town now that they're all, in charge of those entities. So the camp's been a huge success, thanks to people like Rich, thanks to the guys who come back. It's alumni-based runs. So anybody who played football ever at Bloomfield High School that played in college and beyond come back and volunteers for the day. So we've had about between 15 to 20 guys that play college football that come back and share their knowledge with the younger kids. It's great for them to see role models that went to their school, their elementary schools, went to their high schools. And a lot of my staff actually attended the camp when they were younger, and now they're back coaching it. So it's great for the young kids, boys and girls, to see, people in town that are role models to look up to that prove that they can do things. I mean, we got guys that are in great businesses. They're all businessmen. Some guys are in finance. Some guys are in, education and other fields. So it's an opportunity for these kids to see us expand their horizons outside of just what's in front of us in our lifestyle and our communities and it's a great opportunity for everyone in town.
That's incredible. I know your wife was also a great athlete in high school and played in college at St. Joe's as well. And now your girls are celebrating some athletic success. But your experiences, your wife's experiences, how have those experiences helped you as a parent in raising young athletes?
Tremendously, especially things like time management, discipline, patience. It's been huge. A lot of things that I've learned playing sports. Like I said, my wife and I was blessed to be smart enough to marry somebody who was an athlete who could relate to, my perks, I guess, and things that I do and expectations. It's probably tough on our kids to have two parents that were Division I athletes because our expectation is high, but not only in sports, but in life in general. Like our kids are raised to be respectful people and good people first. And sports is second. Academics is important in our household. Spirituality, just treating people right and being respectful is what we look for most in our kids. The grades thing, if they're doing poorly in school, we discuss with them, talk about it, and it's an expectation that's set. It's exhausting. That's why I have all this gray hair. It's not easy raising three daughters and setting an expectation for them, but also being an example of what they should look for in a man when they get older. I'm being serious. Someone who's going to respect them and treat them right, and also try to get the best out of them as a person, which I think is great with my wife. Of us both being athletes, we have a high expectation for each other, so we're always pushing each other to improve in all areas of our life.
All right, now we're going to jump in to the speed round, the lightning round, the rapid fire, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to ask a question, and then Anthony, you're going to respond as quickly as you can with the first answer that comes to mind.
I hope I don't get in trouble.
All right, so the first one that we always do, if you could have dinner with 4 people, dead or alive, who would you choose and where are you taking them out to eat?
Wow. That's a great question. Dead or alive? Who would I bring? It would be my dad, my brother, my grandfather, and Jesus would be the 4th person. And where would I bring him? Obviously to an Italian restaurant in New Jersey.
As Jesus would have intended.
Yes.
Can't go wrong with an Italian restaurant in Jersey, that's for sure.
Which let's dive in
I
here.
would take them to one of 2 places, either Gabriella's in Red Bank or Rosie's in Randolph, New Jersey.
Beautiful.
Both phenomenal places with great food. Some free publicity for you guys.
I'm going to have to go to Rosie's. That's not too far away from me.
No, great spot. I recommend the long hot pizza.
We're gonna have to all corral and meet up there at some point over the next year, Mr.
Absolutely.
Lambo. Sounds
Yes,
awesome.
sir, Pat. We got to get you back to Jersey, Pat.
Oh yeah. What's the best golf course you've ever played?
Well, I've been blessed and lucky enough lately. I've played Trump International at Bedminster a couple times this summer. So far, that's been the nicest course I've played at. That and second to that would be the River Course.
Nothing like the River Course.
River Course is gorgeous.
Yes, it is. What is the best part about being a girl dad?
Ooh, knowing that I'm always going to be taken care of. I think at the end of the day, one of my 3 daughters is going to always be around to make sure I'm okay. So that's probably the best part.
Tugging at the heartstrings on this Tuesday. I love it. I love it. All right. Your namesake, we have to ask, what is your dream car?
My dream car is a military-grade Hummer, but upgraded to street legal vehicle that's comfortable for me to fit in. Since I was a kid, I always wanted a Hummer truck. It's not a Lambo. I wouldn't even fit in that thing. So it's definitely a military-grade Hummer. A Lambo truck, maybe. I would definitely take that, but I don't know if I want to pay the taxes on that.
If anyone stood next to you, they would understand that answer. What are you, 6'3", 6'4", Anthony?
Yeah, 6'3". I'm down to 270. Feels good.
All right. So I'm half Italian. I know Luttenberger throws us off, but my mom, Yacarino, her father was off of a boat. So here goes with some questions about our heritage.
Oof. Go ahead.
All right. So when you were a kid, was macaroni synonymous with all pastas?
Yeah, yes it was.
What's your favorite pasta noodle and why?
Rigatoni, because that's what I grew up eating at my grandmother's house on Sundays.
All right. Do your kids know how to properly pronounce mozzarella and other fine Italian meats and cheeses?
Absolutely, my kids are not American.
Do you call, do you call it sauce or gravy?
I called my grandmother, called it, and she called it gravy.
Ooh, okay. Did your grandmother have plastic on her furniture?
No, she did not,
Oh, ooh, surprising.
but she did have flower print all over her furniture.
Tommy Cold Cuts. Are you starting Tommy Cold Cuts on Sunday?
It's Tommy Colcuts.
Tommy DeVito when he was with
Tommy, touchdown Tommy.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't. Listen. There's guys who are Essex County and guys who are Italian, and there's guys who talk about being Italian in Essex County. You know what I mean? So, no, Tommy Colcuts, he had a great run. God bless him. I'm happy for him. A local guy, great kid. You know, but I wasn't really a fan of the Tommy Cutlet thing.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlets. I'm clearly too Irish for this conversation.
Sorry, you threw me off with that one.
Yeah. I saw a T-shirt at the shore this weekend, Tommy Cutlets, and I was like, "Oh, cold cuts, cutlets, too similar here." All right, here's one. Speaking of New Jersey, it's 1998, and you're taking some of your Virginia or Southern teammates to Bloomfield, New Jersey, to visit you for the 4th of July weekend. Where are you taking them to give them the authentic Jersey experience? Or better yet, what does that itinerary look like for Saturday, the whole day, beginning to end?
Ooh, that's a great question. What would I do first? First thing I would do is probably drive them past Newark Airport so they could see the downtown area in Newark and the area in which I grew up in, and the environment in which I grew up in. I'd probably driving by my elementary school, take them to my high school, driving by there, and take them through town quick to show them some spots. Obviously, we would probably make a trip out into New York City because a lot of guys that I played with have never been there. I actually took Keith Short, who I played with when he was with the Jets as a free agent. My friend and I picked him up from camp and took him out to New York City, the first time he's ever been there. And his reactions were pretty hilarious to us because it's like our backyard. And to him, it was, it was daytime in the middle of the night with all the lights out in the building and the environment, the people walking around at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So definitely a trip to the city would be take them through town, show them the places I grew up and the things that happened there, and, give a background story, let them meet my family, probably have a good meal with the family, and then head to the city to show them around New York City. So that's what the day would probably look like.
I would imagine on day 2, you take them down the shore or take them down a great adventure.
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely got to go to Jersey Shore. A lot of guys that I played with never seen the ocean, which was surprising, when I got to Tech. So, yes, the Jersey Shore would definitely be on a boat trip. I know you want to keep it in Jersey, and we're not going to take them to Coney Island. So we definitely go down the Jersey Shore.
All right, here's one more. So the Lambo ladies are out at the spa for 3 hours. It's July. It's raining cats and dogs, so no golf for Anthony. Netflix is glitching, and it's only offering you 6 options. The Godfather, Goodfellas, My Cousin Vinny, Donnie Brasco, Johnny Dangerously, and The Many Saints in Newark. What are you watching and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm just running through the movies in my head again. I'm going to have to go with Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a classic. It's both serious and a little comic at the same time. And I like that. It keeps it light, but it's also an engaging story. The music in it's phenomenal. It's got great music. The soundtrack for Goodfellas is great. So I would have to go Goodfellas. It's probably one of my favorite ones. I mean, The Godfather's great. Obviously, the trilogy, watching all them with that, you got to commit to that. So I would, if it's a one-day thing and I have a few hours and everything's glitching out, and I have one option, I would go with Goodfellas. A lot of great players too.
Impromptu question: who's your favorite character in Goodfellas?
Would have to be Joe Pesci, right?
I like the guy that says everything 2 times. Got to get the papers. Get the papers.
Get the papers.
Why am I funny? Why am I a funny guy?
What am I, clown? I'm here to amuse you. This character is drives that movie. He's a funny guy. Jersey guy too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rich, you want to take us into letters from the lunch pail?
All right. So letters from the lunch pail. These are questions sent in from listeners, and the first one's actually from me. Being a fellow Jersey guy, I still remember the constant grief I got on campus because of the way I talked, even though I don't talk like that. But especially when I was on the baseball team that first year, those guys used to love to get all over me. So, when someone drops a bunt and I'm yelling, 2, 2, 2, they're all in the dugout chirping, 2, 2, like they love to make fun of that. So tell me about your experiences in the football field. I'm sure you had similar experiences. What's the funniest culture clash memory that you have, excuse me, of being an Italian Essex County Jersey guy living in the hills of Southwest Virginia?
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, I'll tell you one quick story. My freshman year, I get a care package sent in, and inside that care package is provolone cheese, sharp provolone cheese. So I decided to open it up and cut it up in my dorm room. Little did I know that the entire floor was going to smell like provolone cheese, and a lot of guys didn't know what that was. So they thought something died in the room. They thought it was somebody's dirty socks. So I introduced everyone to provolone cheese my freshman year in the dorm. That would be one thing. Second part of that would be nicknames. I think because of where I'm from and my last name Lambo, I've given a lot of nicknames by the older guys. Lambino, the great Lambino Trip. Some what I can't mention right now, but that'll be at another time. But it was great. It was great being from New Jersey. I also had Corey Bird there at the time. He was from South Jersey. Dave Myers was from New Jersey. Virginia Tech, I think the second most populated state on campus population-wise was Virginia, and the second state was New Jersey. So there's a lot of Jersey people there. So I wasn't the only one walking around with an accent, Rich. There was there's quite a few other thousands of New Jerseyans on campus at the time. Football-wise, there was a couple of us. Then we also had Manny Clemente, T. Butler, that were from New York. We had other guys from up north, but yes, they did tease us, but not more than we tease them about their country accent and the things they said and the slang they used, things of that nature. So I think they got it more so from us than we did from them.
Man, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. Pat, I want to jump in. You triggered a memory here, Anthony. The Italian mother care packages, they were to die for. But you once told me, Anthony, we talked in the past, you once told me a story about Coach Beamer recruiting you when he came up to watch you play basketball and came into the house and was treated to that Italian mother and the food. And tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, that day, Coach Beamer ate better than I ate my entire life living at home. He he came into a spread, which I wasn't allowed to touch till they showed up. So my mom has this food sitting out, and I'm like starving. I'm like, she wouldn't let me touch it. So she came in, she had the antipas spread for him, the provolone, roasted pepper, soup side, all that stuff laid out for him. And he walked in. I think he was a little taken back by probably the smell of the provolone, but also the giant spread of food that was in front of him. He was coming to talk, football and meet the family. I don't think he was expecting to be fed, but it's the hospitality of Italian mom. If you're in their house, you need to be eating something, and if you're full, you're not full enough. So that was great. He came in, and to this day, when I run to him, he always mentions to me, when can I get more of that stuff from your mother, that food from your mom? So he loved it, which was great. I don't know if that was a selling point for him to offer me the scholarship. It could have been the super sod, who knows? But it all worked out. He was actually with Coach Kavanaugh as well, which was funny. So the both of them had the opportunity to eat some good Italian food on their trip up to New Jersey.
That's fantastic. Another Jersey guy, Patrick Ciano, asked, Virginia Tech players of the 90s and the early 2000s were known for being really tough. Why was that, and who created that culture for you guys?
That culture was started by Coach Gentry and the strength conditioning program. It was developed in the testing that we did, the competitions that we did, the conditioning that we did. Kind of all started the camaraderie with everybody. You know, it's almost like military when these guys are out training, Marines are out training, and a lot of training they're doing is to bring them together as a unit. And that was basically Coach Gentry's job. He did a great job setting the foundation for that. I think the guys who pushed that envelope were obviously Coach Beamer and Coach Foster did a great job also being that person in that position to set temperament, the demeanor. I mean, our defense was outstanding for the entire time he was there. And a lot of that was obviously his leadership expectation and the groundwork he laid down and the guys that came before everybody and the expectation they left for those positions. So I would say probably those guys.
Was he the one? Was Gentry the one that started the Iron Hokie competition?
Yes, Coach Gentry started the Iron Hokie competition. Yes, he did. He started the awards program, the Super Iron Hokie. He did a lot of things. We did 6 a.m. workouts weren't always the best thing in the world, but you know that's part of what makes a group of men a team. It makes them a unit. Is going through terrible things together, physically and mentally.
What are some of the things you had to do for that contest?
We had to push a truck uphill, a pickup truck. We had to push press Hokie stone over our head when we were there. What else? We did a timed stadium run with a weighted vest on. Things of that nature. It was intense. It was really intense. The 6 a.m. workouts were tough. We had mat drills and cone drills, and it was just nonstop conditioning for about an hour and a half straight. And we think we literally started at 6 o'clock in the morning. For college kids, that's not an easy task.
So to take us home here, Steve Moskal says, what was it like to block for the best quarterback in college football?
It was fun. It was exciting. It was an opportunity, which was, given to all of us up front. I think we took that responsibility on as a group, and I don't think we realized what was going on while it was happening. To us, it was showing up to practice, and we're blocking for this young kid who's a freshman. We're blocking for this young kid, a sophomore, who's absolutely sick athlete. And we saw it every day in practice. But Mike was 17, 18, 19 years old. He was a great kid when we were there. He's quiet. He looked up to us. He led. When he got comfortable, he turned into a great leader for us. The opportunity to play with Mike, and not only Mike, but Corey Moore, John Engelberger, Josh Redding, Matt Lair, Dave Cadell, Keith Short, all those guys, Matt Winsek, Andre Davis, all the guys on the defensive side. It was a family. So having the opportunity to play with all those guys during that time was special for everyone there. And everyone treated each other the same. Mike didn't get any special treatment from us. Corey Moore did. If anything, they got it worse. They got more jokes put on them and, got their chops busted more because of all the attention they were getting. We were going up to practice too every day for 3 hours, killing ourselves, but they were getting all that the extra tough, which they deserved, obviously. But it always comes with a little backlash from your teammates, joking, constant joking. I mean, I literally laughed for 5 years while I was at Virginia Tech. Plane rides, warm-ups for practices. The group of guys there, not only did they get along, but, you could ride each other. And, the next day it is what it is. So it was absolutely family atmosphere. That's one of the best experiences of my life while I was at Virginia Tech. And I have relationships that are going to last forever because of it.
Absolutely. Mr. Lambo, Anthony Lambo, want to give you an opportunity, the spotlight here, and this has been an absolute pleasure. What is your message to Hokie Nation? Any shout outs you want to give or anything that you want to promote? This is your time. We call it Sharky shout outs. So next time you're eating some wings down at Sharky's in Blacksburg, this is your opportunity to shout out those folks here.
Who do I want to give a shout out to? First group of men I want to give a shout out to is the coaching staff. They came in, and it was not easy the first couple of years. They were being attacked for many reasons, some rightfully so, some not. You look at where the program is now compared to the first day Coach Pry walked in. Him and his staff have done a phenomenal job of turning everything around, which was not an easy task. And I knew this was going to happen. I know what kind of person Coach Pry is. I know what kind of person JC is, and Pilo, and Coach Jones, and had the opportunity to not only play with those guys and learn a lot from them as a player, but also as a young man. So I think that coaching staff has turned the program in the direction back to where it should be. Having the state involved, having the campus involved, and the fans. I mean, obviously, it was a difficult task the past 3 years, and they've stayed on course, and they've done everything that was expected from the alumni. And now it's time for us to see the outcome of all their hard work. And I think this season, you know, it's going to show. It's going to show. We did a great job bringing in transfer portal people, our recruiting class. I mean, what are you going to do when Coach Pry, JC, Pilo, Coach Vines, Coach Jones walks in your school in high school? You got to be excited to want to go to Virginia Tech. And that's a good group of men walking in, you know, recruiting you. So if you're in state, you know, things have changed. So I would give kudos to them. It's not an easy job what they do. Coach lost, you know, some staff members the past 3 years and had to find different people to fill those positions. It's a very difficult job. So I think the job they've done, it's all going to come to light this season. And I'm really excited to see the outcome of everybody's hard work.
His name is Anthony Lambo, and we appreciate you coming on. Have an awesome rest of your week. We'll look forward to seeing you in Blacksburg this fall, hopefully, Anthony.
Pat, Rich, thank you. It was a blast, honor, and a pleasure being here today. Appreciate your time, guys.
Thanks, Anthony.